You may already know from the title of this video, but today in the A to Z of guitar, we've reached S for single coil. Do you know that S? Each of these videos in the A to Z series are going to feature a letter which comes from the start of a well-known guitar brand. And at the end of the series, I'm going to show you the video with all of them in. So stay tuned for that. But right now, let's talk about single coil pickups. So here I've got a set of 3 single coil pickups wired ready to go into a Strat type guitar. Now, before I talk about how a pickup works, the single coils work, I just want to show you something that not a lot of people will know, that each of the pickups is slightly different depending on the position it's in. And by slightly different, I mean the distance between the poles here. And the poles are the 6 round pieces that go into the center of each pickup. Again, I'll talk about how they work afterwards. But if I measure the distance between the center point of the extreme end ones here, so the equivalent of measuring from the center point would be measuring from the tip of this one to the tip of that one. So here on these ones, we see that this one is 47. So center to center, it would be 47 millimeters. So that's for one of the extreme ones, not the middle one. If I measure the middle one now, I can see that that one is 49 millimeters, so 2 millimeters more than the other one here. And then the last one at the end, I see is 51. So they're increasing by 2 millimeters each time. And that's because as you go down the neck of the guitar, you'll find that the strings get wider apart. So the nut at one end of the guitar and the bridge have a different width to them. The nut is narrower. So this is the neck pickup, because here the strings are narrower and they're fanning out like this as they come up the bridge. Up to the bridge. Now, if we take a look just at a single coil, what we find is it has these 6 pole pieces. Now, the pole pieces could be different depending on the make or the design of the pickup, but they would either be magnetic themselves, or like this one, there'll be a magnetic bar below it, where these are just ferrule metal cylinders. So they're either magnetic themselves, or they've got a magnet at the bottom that connects to them, and therefore they become magnetic. Now, they'll have a cover on, and this is what we call a bobbin. So a bit like sewing, it's what you wrap your string round, your thread round when you're sewing. And this bobbin is covered in a piece of yellow tape. Sometimes they might be covered in wax. Actually, this one looks like it's got some wax on it as well. Wax potting is a whole other thing to talk about, but it's a way of covering your pickups to secure them more, to shield them more, and prevent some of that hum and feedback you get. Single coils are very prevalent to receiving hum through your signal. And the reason for that is the way the pickup works is we've got the poles and they're wrapped around this black bobbin in this case. Sorry, we've got the poles going through the center of the bobbin, and wrapped around it is the wire and the magnet underneath. It basically creates an electromagnet. So there's an electromagnetic field around it. And the electromagnetic field, as I explained in my electricity video as part of this A to Z, is really good at picking up the vibrations of the strings and sending that as a signal to the amplifier. But single coil like this is also very good at picking up background noise. It picks up the hum, the natural hum, which in America would be 60 cycles, and in the rest of the world is a 50 cycle hum that comes through your mains electricity supply. So that's why we get the hum. And a humbucker, which I'll talk about in a different video, they work to reduce that hum sounding. That's why they're called humbuckers. But as we can see, let's go back to this single coil. It's got on it 2 solder points here with the wire coming through it, and the wire has 2 parts at the end. Let me strip the plastic off so we can have a look at it. What it has here is the red wire, which was inside the black tubing, which is the hot wire of your pickup. So that's the one that would be sending the signal along via the volume, etc., volume and tones. And this bit which was the other wire, which sometimes is actually in a plastic sheathing like the red one, often in a black, because it's the ground wire. But here the ground wire is loose, which is another common thing that you find when you've got the plastic tubing. So this ground wire runs parallel to the red wire with inside the plastic tubing. There's no need for them both to be insulated. They just need to be insulated from each other so they don't touch, which is why if one is insulated, the other one won't be touching it. And when they're inside this tubing, they're both insulated from touching anything else. Anyway, they come up to these points where they are soldered on, and essentially that's soldered to each end of the wire that's wrapped around. Now, most humbuckers you'll find will be wrapped anti-clockwise. A really smooth, even wind will help make a stronger, darker sounding pickup, and a scattered wound, kind of uneven coils that aren't very neatly put on will kind of create a crispier pickup sound. And that's because there's a decrease in the self-capacitance of the wires if they're not equally wound up. So that's why I find when you buy cheap pickups, like you buy a cheap guitar online, made in China, Gibson as they call them, that the cheap pickups sometimes actually can sound great. It's very hit and miss because it just depends how by chance it's been wired up. When you have a pickup from a well-known brand, they're going to be more consistent on their wrapping and winding, so you're going to have a more consistent sounding pickup. Now hopefully here you can see each individual, or not exactly each individual thread, but you can see that it's lots of wraps around. It's one long thread wrapped thousands of times around. Great, well thanks for watching. As I've mentioned in some other videos in this series, I'm going to make some playlists which focus on particular elements that are linked together. So, for example, I'm going to have a video about pickups. Today's single coil will be in it, and back for H we had humbucker, P we had P90, and I'm sure I'm going to be adding to this series in the future. In fact, I'm making a guitar at the moment that has 3 lipstick pickups in it, so I might as well make a video about them. So like, subscribe and hit that bell if you want to see those playlists. Until next time, happy strumming.